Imagine a realm of wonders, a place where beings of supreme and divine power walk among the skies and the earth, entrusted with dominion over mortals and the sacred duty to guide them. Yet when such power is left unchecked, even the noblest intentions can twist into madness, and the light of order can be shattered by the shadows of ambition, wrath, and deceit. This is a story of how the gods descend into chaos. So sit back as we take you through the story of the Clash of the Gods. Before we dive deep into the story, I have a quick question for you. I know that many of you are tuning in from different parts of the world, all united by love of storytelling, and so I would love to connect. Drop a comment below and let me know where you are watching from. I will be in the comment section engaging with you. And if you are enjoying the content, a like and subscription will mean the world to me. Now let us get into the story. Chapter 1: The Chamber of Thrones. A shadow moved across the land, though it bore no shape and uttered no sound. Yet everywhere it passed, death and despair followed like obedient children. This shadow had a name whispered with dread in the halls of the gods: Ogbunala. Once, he had been a god like the others, entrusted with a singular, sacred power, the right to take life. The others wielded influence, wisdom, and creation, but only Ogbunala could claim a life at any moment, by decree of the divine order. But power, untempered by reason, is a seed for ruin. Ogbunala's mind fractured beneath the weight of his gift. He began to roam beyond the bounds of justice, taking life for caprice, for boredom, for reasons none could comprehend. The rivers ran red, the skies churned with sorrowful storms, and the lands themselves seemed to recoil from his steps. And then, he committed the ultimate crime. He killed one of the gods. The act shook the foundations of the celestial order. The council convened and decided, unanimously, that Ogbunala's reign of unchecked destruction could not continue. For decades, he was bound by chains of sacred fire, imprisoned within a fortress of the divine, where no god dared step, lest they provoke the wrath of a force that had once walked among them. Now, the sentence neared its end. Whispers of Ogbunala's impending freedom spread through the realms like a poison. Even the smallest deities trembled, recalling the devastation his madness had wrought. Fear was no longer a quiet thing. It hung heavy in the air, a palpable presence in every sacred hall and glade. The gods, the immortal pillars of the world, were called once more to deliberate, to decide whether the time had come to let Ogbunala step into the world again, or to extend the chains that had held him for so long. The Chamber of Thrones was a hall unlike any other. Its walls shimmered with molten gold, and the floors were etched with the constellations of the cosmos. Thrones of crystal and ivory lined the chamber, each carved with the symbols of a god. Here, the voices of the divine would speak, and the fates of mortals and immortals alike would hang in the balance. Amadioha, the pillar of the realm, sat at the center, his eyes burning with an intensity that could both bless and annihilate. Beside him were Anyanwu, the radiant goddess of life and the sun, Miri, guardian of rivers and waters, and Ahiajoku, patron of harvest and wisdom. Their faces were solemn, etched with the lines of concern. Opposite them, Ekwensu, trickster and chaos-bearer, lounged with an unsettling ease, a smirk playing at the corners of his lips. Agwu, the seer and manipulator of fate, sat quietly, eyes distant, lost in visions known only to him. Ikna, embodiment of strength and honor, remained impassive, his gaze steady, unyielding. The sentence nears its end. Amadioha began, his voice deep and resonant, vibrating through the chamber like a storm rolling over the mountains. Ogbunala has been bound for decades, and yet the world trembles at the thought of his freedom. Shall we release him? Or shall his chains endure a while longer? Anyanwu's voice followed, calm but firm. The blood he has spilled still stains the heavens. We cannot ignore the terror he has caused. His power is meant for justice, yet he turned it to slaughter. What proof have we that he will not repeat his madness? Miri's fingers traced patterns in the water that pooled beneath her throne, as if seeking answers from currents themselves. Even if he has served the sentence we imposed, the consequences of his freedom may outweigh any justice we claim to uphold. He is a god of death, not a god of restraint. Ahiajoku's voice, measured and grave, added, "We are tasked not merely with judgment, but with the stability of all realms. To release him is to gamble with chaos." Have we the right to risk the balance for the sake of his liberty? Ekwensu's smirk widened. Chaos is not always ruin, he said, his tone playful yet edged with malice. Perhaps Ogbunala's freedom will show us new possibilities. Perhaps it will stir the order we have grown tired of. Perhaps he will even entertain us. The chamber grew tense. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Amadioha's gaze sharpened, his voice cold. You speak as one who thrives on disorder, Ekwensu. The fate of the realms is not a game for your amusement. Anyanwu, who had remained silent, finally spoke, his voice soft yet carrying weight. He has served his sentence. Perhaps it is time to consider release. The law of the gods has its course, and none should be above it. Ikenga's deep voice cut through the murmurs. I care not whether he is free or bound. Should he threaten anything that is mine, I shall face him. That is my duty. But beneath Anyanwu's calm words lay a secret none of the gods could see. He alone had seen the vision of a coming war, a confrontation that would require Ogbunala's strength. To admit this now would risk outrage, suspicion, perhaps even rebellion against him. So he cloaked his intent in the veil of justice and mercy, presenting only the reasoning that would keep the other gods from questioning him too closely. Debate raged for hours. Voices rose and fell, each god presenting arguments steeped in wisdom, fear, or ambition. The chamber shook with the weight of their words, the echoes of ancient power resonating against the walls. And yet, no resolution came. The question remained, a blade suspended over the realms, and the shadow of Ogbunala's name loomed ever larger. As the deliberation drew toward its close, a sense of foreboding settled over the chamber. Even among the gods, fear was tangible. They could see the devastation that Ogbunala had wrought, and they could imagine what might come if he walked free once more. And yet, law and order demanded a reckoning. Would they defy the end of a sentence, or would they risk the world to obey it? Outside, the winds howled through the heavens, carrying with them the whisper of a name that would soon return to the world, Ogbunala. And within the Chamber of Thrones, the gods prepared to make a decision that would set the course of destiny, one that would echo across realms, shaping the fates of gods and mortals alike. Chapter 2: Trails of Darkness. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long, golden rays over the heavens, as Anyanwu left the Chamber of Thrones. The echoes of the council's debate still lingered in her mind, words of fear, anger, and uncertainty bouncing endlessly. She moved with purpose, her thoughts heavy with the weight of Ogbunala's impending release. There was one god whose counsel she valued above all, Allah, goddess of the earth, keeper of roots and balance. If anyone could see the danger for what it was, it would be her. Anyanwu approached Allah's sacred grove, the air thick with the scent of fertile soil and blooming flowers. The goddess was seated upon a throne carved from living wood, vines twisting around it as if the earth itself had chosen her as its steward. Her eyes, deep as the soil beneath the world, lifted toward Anyanwu with calm curiosity. "You were absent from the council," Anyanwu began, bowing slightly. "We felt your presence would have mattered. Tell me, why were you not among the gods today?" Allah's lips curved into a faint smile, though her eyes carried seriousness. "The matters of the council are not always for me to attend," she replied. "I watch, I listen, and I discern. Sometimes absence is itself a counsel." Anyanwu took a steadying breath. "Then you have heard of Ogbunala's sentence nearing its end?" she asked, her voice tinged with urgency. "The gods debated fiercely today. Some call for his release, citing that he has served the time decreed by our law. Others, myself among them, plead that his freedom would invite chaos. We cannot forget the blood he has spilled, the devastation left in his wake. His power was meant for order, yet he turned it to madness. It is imperative that we prevent him from returning unchecked." Allah's eyes darkened slightly, her fingers resting on the arm of her throne. "I do not favor his release, Anyanwu," she said quietly. "Yet we must respect the judgment already passed. The law is clear, his sentence is ending. To oppose it before its conclusion would invite chaos, perhaps even greater than the one we fear from him." Anyanwu nodded, understanding the weight behind Allah's words. "I do not seek to undermine the law," she said, her tone measured. "But there is room for counsel, for careful consideration. What if the majority of the gods, when they deliberate again, decide to extend his imprisonment? That, too, is within the bounds of our order." The council's voice is decisive, but it is not immutable until the vote is cast. "I ask you to lend your wisdom when the time comes, so that reason may guide us, and not mere fear or habit." Allah's gaze lingered on Anyanwu, considering her words. The wind rustled through the grove, carrying the whispers of leaves like a subtle hymn. "You speak wisely, Radiant One," Allah said after a long pause. "I will consider your counsel. On the day of the vote, I shall weigh carefully what must be done. But know this, I do not wish for his release any more than you do. Yet the law is the law, and it must be respected. Impatience or defiance will only bring further suffering." Anyanwu inclined her head, a small measure of relief softening her tension. "Then we are agreed that reason and foresight must guide the council, not fear alone," she said. "I trust that when the moment comes, you will act in the best interest of the realms." Allah nodded once, firmly. "I shall, Anyanwu, and you must continue your vigilance. The balance of all things depends on it." With her counsel heard, Anyanwu turned to depart, her mind already shifting toward her next task. She was to visit Agwu, the seer, to discuss the vision she had glimpsed and the possible ramifications of the gods' divisions. But as she left the grove, a shadow fell over the path ahead. Before she could react, a band of Ekwensu's warriors emerged, swift and silent, encircling her with precision born of long practice. They were clad in dark armor, eyes glinting with malice, their movements echoing the chaos their master thrived upon. Anyanwu's light flared instinctively, but the warriors were prepared, their weapons humming with shadowed energy that suppressed her power. "Ekwensu sends his regards," one of them hissed, stepping forward. "You are coming with us." Anyanwu's heart quickened, but her resolve did not waver. She had faced dangers before, yet this felt different, a direct interference in the delicate balance of the gods' deliberations. Resistance was inevitable, but so was the knowledge that her capture marked the beginning of a darker turn in the conflict that was steadily enveloping the realms. As the warriors closed in, Anyanwu braced herself, the sun's golden rays glinting off her form like armor of light. She knew the path ahead would be perilous, but the stakes were higher than ever. Ogbunala's freedom loomed, the council's divisions widened, and now the hand of Ekwensu moved openly in the shadows. The wheels of destiny were turning, and the realms trembled on the cusp of chaos. Chapter 3: Thunder and Shadows. The waters of Miri's realm churned beneath a sky darkened by rage. Amadioha descended like a storm made flesh, each step sending tremors through the land. Thunder rolled before him, lightning cracked through the heavens, and the very air seemed to vibrate with his fury. His eyes blazed with a singular purpose. Anyanwu had been taken, and none would escape his wrath. Miri, standing upon the banks of her sacred waters, raised her hands to calm the surging waves. "Amadioha," she called, her voice firm yet filled with concern. "This rage will not restore what has been taken. Do not lash out at every realm in your anger. Violence will not free her, it will only deepen the chaos." Amadioha's gaze cut through the mists, sharp as a blade. "She has been kidnapped. By whom I do not yet know, but this insult to the sanctity of the realms will not go unanswered. Every god shall feel my judgment until she is returned." Miri's eyes softened, but her voice remained steady. "Before madness took Ogbunala, before blood tainted our lands, this realm thrived. The rivers ran clear, life flourished, and peace held sway. We cannot let anger undo the balance we have fought so long to preserve. Consider, Amadioha, the path you tread. If you act in fury, the damage may never be undone." For a moment, the god of storms faltered, the weight of her words cutting through the fire of his rage. Yet his fury lingered, unresolved, as he turned to the matter of Anyanwu's captor. In a darkened chamber, far from the waters and the storm, Ekwensu observed Anyanwu with a calm, predatory smile. She was bound, yet unbroken, her radiance dimmed only by the shadows that clung to the walls. Amadioha's wrath will descend like a flood, Ekwensu said smoothly. But you must understand, Radiant One, there is a reasoning behind every act, even this. Anyanwu's eyes narrowed. You speak of reason while holding me captive. Do not twist the truth. Ekwensu leaned closer, voice soft but sharp. The release of Ogbunala is a danger. You know it, I know it. The gods have already agreed to let him go, and to oppose it openly is to invite conflict. Yet your crusade, your attempts to sway the others to your side, jeopardizes everything I wish to achieve. Releasing you is risky, not for me, but for the balance I seek to manipulate. Anyanwu's defiance flared. And you would use lies and manipulation to achieve your ends, blaming others for my capture? Ekwensu's smile widened. Truth is malleable, and fear is an instrument. Some will hear one tale, others another. When whispers spread, suspicion will grow, and divisions deepen. But you must understand that succumbing to anger as Ogbunala did will serve no one, least of all yourself. Madness is a path easily walked. Reason is harder. He circled her, his presence a shadow on the wall. I offer a choice, Goddess of Light. See the path clearly, or risk joining Ogbunala in ruin. The world does not bend for your fury, and neither shall I. Outside, the storm raged still, Amadioha's anger restrained for now, a reflection of the balance between wrath and wisdom. Within the shadows, Ekwensu's whispers began to spread, seeding distrust, and the wheels of chaos turned, silently and inexorably. Chapter 4: Counsel and Oath. Amadioha walked through the sacred groves with measured steps, his fury tempered, though the storm in his heart raged still. He sought Allah, goddess of the earth, whose wisdom had calmed him before. As he approached her, she regarded him with steady, questioning eyes. I know who took Anyanwu, Amadioha declared, his voice calm yet edged with certainty. Allah tilted her head. And how would you know this? Accusing a god without proof brings ruin, not justice. There is no other, he replied. Only Ekwensu, the trickster. Anyanwu's crusade to sway the gods to extend Ogbunala's sentence threatened his plans. Now rumors swirl, blaming each god for her disappearance. It reeks of Ekwensu's deception, and it benefits him to weaken his opposition. Allah placed a hand on his arm. Do not let anger dictate your actions. Chaos will harm more than it heals. They question a decree of our own making, Amadioha continued. The majority seek to undo what was decided, to release Ogbunala. His freedom serves only Ekwensu and his life of trickery. I cannot stand idle while he gains strength through deceit. Allah's gaze softened. You are powerful, Amadioha, but wisdom tempers power. Do not storm into his realm. Let me handle this. Amadioha nodded, though restraint still burned within him. Allah summoned Allah, who appeared as a radiant lady. Go to Ekwensu, she instructed. Tell him the wrath of Amadioha is upon him for his deeds. Allah's form shimmered, transforming into a sleek, sinuous snake. She vanished into the woods, her movement silent and swift. Ekwensu, in his shadowed chamber, regarded Anyanwu calmly. Your absence causes unrest, he said smoothly. Even Amadioha threatens me because of you. Anyanwu's heart quickened with hope, but it faltered as he continued. Even Amadioha cannot barge into the land of the damned. He would need Allah's help, and I know she will not provoke a war where none exists. Her mind raced. She needed to turn the situation to her advantage. If you keep me here, she said carefully, this may be your only safe haven. Amadioha can reach you outside your realm, removing your ability to vote when the day comes. Release me, and I will soften his heart. He will not act against you. Ekwensu paused, considering her words. Reason flickered in his eyes. You may be right, he admitted. Swear to me, then, that you will uphold your promise. Anyanwu placed a hand over her heart. I swear on the rising sun. Ekwensu inclined his head. With a flick of his hand, her bonds vanished. Anyanwu stepped free, her resolve sharpened by necessity. Anyanwu returned to the Chamber of Thrones, where Amadioha waited, storm in his gaze now tempered by patience. She approached, voice calm. The unrest caused by my capture is not what the gods are meant to do. We are keepers of peace, not instruments of vengeance. That is why I sought to unite the gods in one decision, to prevent disorder before it spreads further. Amadioha's eyes softened. And Ekwensu? I have secured my freedom, she said. But you must swear that on the day of the vote, you will not take violent action against him. We must preserve the order of the realms, not destroy it in anger. Amadioha lowered his gaze, then lifted it with solemnity. I swear, no violence will befall Ekwensu on that day. A tension lifted in the chamber, though the weight of what was to come remained. The gods would vote, decisions would be made, and the shadow of Ogbunala's return loomed ever closer. Yet for this moment, order held, and reason prevailed, guided by wisdom, caution, and the careful hands of those who remembered the balance of all things. Chapter 5: Reckoning of Fire and Water. The Chamber of Thrones was alive with anticipation, a tension that hummed like a celestial current. 8 pillars stood before the throne, each representing the vote of a god. The air shimmered with power. Fire would engulf a pillar if the god voted for Ogbunala's release, while a tornado of water would encase it should the god vote against. Today, every voice counted, for the fate of the realms hung in fragile balance. All the gods were present, except for Ekwensu, whose absence was noted with unease and suspicion. The chamber was silent as Amadioha rose, his aura crackling faintly with restrained energy. I vote that Ogbunala should remain bound, Amadioha declared, his voice steady but commanding. The perils he can unleash are unparalleled. His madness knows no restraint, and the realms cannot survive his freedom. Immediately, one of the pillars was engulfed in a tornado of water, swirling violently around its base, signaling the god's opposition. Allah, standing poised beside her throne, considered the council carefully. I understand the fears of those who would keep him chained, she said softly. Yet he has served the sentence we ourselves decreed. Whatever the gods decide must stand. It is truth in our words that must be preserved. Let none twist the law to suit themselves. With that, she extended her hand, and a pillar burst into flames, vibrant and alive. Ahiojoku, the patron of harvest, reflected silently, the wisdom of Allah's words settling in his mind. I do not favor his release, he admitted. But Allah is right. There must be firmness in our decrees. Our words, once spoken as gods, must hold. I vote for Ogbunala's release. Another pillar blazed to life and fire, surprising the assembly and sending murmurs rippling through the chamber. Nne Miri, guardian of waters, voted next, and a tornado of water encased her pillar, signaling her descent. Agwu, seated with a quiet smile, then voted for release, and a pillar ignited with flame. Ikna, embodiment of strength, voted against, covering his pillar in a swirling water tornado. As his pillar solidified in the torrent, a shadow fell across the chamber. Ekwensu stepped through the doors with a confident, mocking smile. Every god turned to face him, the air heavy with his presence. How quaint, he said smoothly, his voice dripping disdain. You all begin without me. Yet I am amused. Amadioha fears not to start the vote without me, but faces a far greater terror confronting me in my own realm, after it became known that I held Anyanwu captive. A murmur of anger spread across the chamber. Amadioha's eyes blazed, lightning dancing across his skin. His fury could no longer be contained. You dare, he roared, stepping forward as arcs of electricity sparked violently around him. Anyanwu's voice rang out, clear and commanding. Remember your oath. Do not allow Ekwensu to bait you into rage. Amadioha did not heed her warning. Lightning shot from his hands, striking toward Ekwensu. The trickster laughed as a black, shadowy vortex formed before him, absorbing the lightning and redirecting it back toward the storm god. Amadioha dissolved it instantly, but the chamber trembled under the clash of their powers. Chaos erupted. Gods moved, clashing with raw power. Iknal lunged at Ekwensu while Anyanwu tried to restrain Amadioha, her sunlight absorbing stray currents. Agwu sat back, laughing under his breath, muttering about inevitability. Mumiri and Ahiojoku tried to intervene, but Allah's warning restrained them. They could not violate the sacred law by attacking another god within the chamber. The battle raged, raw divine energy shaking the chamber. Then Amadioha slammed his hands together with a deafening clap, sending Anyanwu reeling. "You dare attack me, the king of gods," he bellowed. "You swore your word." Anyanwu replied, steady despite the blow. "Does your oath mean nothing? Must the law be broken at the whim of your anger?" Ekwensu realized too late that he had underestimated the situation. Amadioha surrounded himself with a tornado of lightning, hurling it at the trickster with unbridled force. Anyanwu tried to absorb it in a pillar of sunlight, but the strike was too powerful, deflecting dangerously. A gasp swept through the chamber as a beam of lightning struck one of her lesser deities, her child, Mu'ututu, leaving her lifeless on the ground. "No!" Anyanwu screamed, rushing to her fallen child. Tears mingled with anger as she knelt beside the body. Her grief transformed into resolve. Rising, her voice rang like the dawn breaking through the storm. "This chamber, once sacred, has become a den of disorder. The so-called king of gods succumbs to temper and must be restrained like a child denied his toy. The law is broken, the sacred bounds violated. If it is chaos we desire, then chaos we shall have." Her voice steadied, and the room fell silent. "I vote for the release of Ogbunala, the killer of the honest and dishonest, bringer of pain and sorrow, terror incarnate, and a force none can tame. Let him rise and remind all that power is not meant to be contained." Her pillar erupted in fire, but unlike the other flames, this one burned with the brilliance of the sun itself, golden and radiant. The final pillar remained, awaiting Ekwensu's silent approval. He smiled villainously, muttering under his breath, "Even better than I planned," before a maniacal laugh echoed through the chamber. Without further word, the last pillar ignited. The ground trembled violently, and a gaping round hole opened. From the depths rose Ogbunala, his chains snapping as if the earth itself conspired in his freedom. He stood, muscles coiled and eyes blazing with victorious fervor. He looked upon the gods assembled and spoke, his voice like a rolling tempest. "Behold, my reckoning. To be continued." I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more incredible myths and stories. The continuation of the story will be dropping shortly. If you enjoyed it, then you are in luck because The Clash of the Gods is a trilogy and the rest will be dropping soon.